I recently rejected $7,000. It was the most obvious decision to make, yet it was actually one of the hardest decisions to make. And how I came to this conclusion was these two phrases that stuck with me from the start of the year. The first one being, money doesn't actually solve happiness, it just solves money-related problems. And the second one being, fat loss doesn't actually solve happiness, it just helps solve fat loss problems. There are two conundrums with these phrases. The first half of the phrase is true. There are things in life we seek that don't actually make us happy. Being lean or being jacked doesn't always make you feel like you are at the top of the mountain, despite looking pretty damn good and even being physically in shape. Similarly, making tons of money won't actually make you happy either. As we know from multiple stories from the rich and famous, or maybe even a rich cousin, they will tell you that having money can actually be more troublesome than you think. And I suppose the problem with using external things in this world to seek happiness is that it never really solves the root problem. And one of the main reasons it was really hard for me to say no to the $7,000 was that I know deep down I want the money, and yet I know it really isn't going to be making me happier in the long run. In fact, some of the things that drives me to feel this sense of happiness these days are things like spending time with family, hobbies like jiu-jitsu, reading a book. And it is really, really hard to not have these external things because on paper it seems like the sensible thing to do. Make money, get healthy and fitter, all in some ways truisms. Look, facts don't care about feelings, and that's true, but feelings don't always care about the facts either. Sometimes there really just isn't a reason why we want to have more money. We want to look a certain way. We just want those things, and full stop. And this brings me to the flip side of the second half of these phrases, that money can solve money-related problems. And being lean can solve a lot of health problems. Having money is absolutely vital, don't get me wrong. It pays the bills, it keeps food on the table, it allows you to get fuel for the car that you need to drive around town. And being leaner keeps you healthier. And as we all know, metabolic syndrome, or MED-S, which is a collection of symptoms that correlates with poor health outcomes, can generally be improved by having a lower body fat percentage. And these external things, as cliche as it sounds, will solve a lot of problems for you. Look, I get it, $7,000 is a lot. It helps me to actually even keep the lights on, to put food on the table for actually multiple weeks, months. And similarly, the way I see it is being leaner now just ensures that in due time, I don't have to work as hard to keep my health in check. See, solving problems by having these external things now and getting them now can actually lead to less stress overall. And what we do know is that the less stress we feel, the higher likelihood we just feel less unhappy, if that makes sense, especially when financial stress and health stress are probably the two biggest drivers of poor mental health outcomes in the current modern age. As Naval Ravikant once said, money can buy your way out of unhappiness. In a similar twist to being healthier can buy your way out of being unhealthy. Slight tangent. Naval's book is actually one of my list of top 10 books to read, so if you want more recommendations like that, check out the link in my bio to grab the list. Totally free. It came down to this crossroad for me. The obvious yet hard choice on saying no to $7,000. And it really boiled down to something that I can't buy, despite putting effort into making more money or trying to get healthier. Time. Time is this weird commodity that I think we trade in order to gain things. We trade time to make money, go to work, or we trade time, convenience, to get a takeout meal or a frozen meal instead of making our own food. In my case, by saying yes to that $7,000, I would end up spending less time with my family. spending less time to find ways to leverage my time better, ironically, and honestly, less sleep, because I have to wake up a lot earlier to do more work, and I know that I harp on how important sleep is. As cliche as it sounds, I think my time is worth more than $7,000, at least in terms of the time I have to trade to make that $7,000. Again, the obvious choice is usually the hardest choice to make. For example, your doctor tells you that you need to improve your blood sugar levels. The obvious thing is to clean up your diet, do some exercise. Simple, yet extremely hard to commit. I'm not saying that you need to just say no to every job or financial offer or even big opportunity that comes your way. What I'm just suggesting is that sometimes saying no means it opens up opportunities and doors for you to say yes to other things. And I have a tattoo on my calf, Memento Mori, and it's the idea of reminding myself that we're all going to die someday and time is always of the essence. Making hard decisions like committing to changing your lifestyle to get healthier or saying no to financial incentives so that you have more flexible time to put it to good use is never an easy decision to make. But in my opinion, as I grow old, and probably you too, you start to realize that time is of the essence. Sometimes doing the bare minimum of things like achieving some type of financial stability to live the lifestyle that you want, or just maintaining this body fat percentage to keep your health markers in check, is sometimes enough as long as you are able to maintain it. And what this does is it opens up doors to you saying yes to more things and ultimately what you want to do in this very short life of ours. Of course, for me, it was not an easy thing to say no to $7,000. And I'm sure my 20-year-old self would have looked at this and be fuming. But maybe that's just a weird thing about growing up and being mature and being a functioning adult in society. There will be advice that will be given to you by someone or even your peers who might be further along the journey. And yet, it's unlikely that you will take the advice. So how weird is it that growing up just sometimes means making some decisions that younger people will look at it and go, why would anyone do that? I suppose maturity does really come with age and time.